The annual commemoration of the Holocaust, both here at the Council and all over the world, is a somber and necessary event. It is of the utmost importance to recall our shared history, no matter how difficult and painful, so that we learn from it and vow to never repeat it. This year's Holocaust Remembrance Day will be observed on April 28th, and I'm glad that we can actually gather in person today to commemorate this observance. As you know, the Holocaust was a systematic murder of 6 million Jews and other groups by the Nazis and their collaborators. Well, we tend to think about the Holocaust as having taken place between 1941 and 1945. Jews were persecuted by the Nazi regime starting in 1933 when Hitler came to power in Germany. We are fortunate that today we have with us members of the survivor community, the second generation and the third generation. We will hear from some of them in a few minutes, but I may ask my colleagues, Councilmember Friedson, followed by Vice President Glass, for their remarks, and we're going to read the proclamation and then hear from those other speakers. Councilmember Friedson.
Well, each year this is a humbling honor and a somber obligation that we join together to commemorate the Holocaust, and we do it with collective action, and we do it as a community. We do it to say never again, and today we do it with multiple generations. In Hebrew say lador vador, from generation to generation, and this commemoration today is both a reminder of the horrors of the past and a celebration of those who have stood up in perhaps the greatest act of defiance in human history. The idea of generation to the next generation doesn't just happen. And for those who experienced the Holocaust, it wasn't supposed to happen. And so each and every day that the children and the grandchildren and those grandchildren's children live is an act of defiance, is an act of standing up against hatred, standing up against oppression, standing up against genocide. And together, we say never again. Together, we help to make sure that we secure the next generation. And together, we can make sure that we stop genocide from happening. We stop oppression from happening wherever it is, to whomever it is happening, wherever on the planet it is happening. So I'm honored to be here today to take place in this. We have to stand up against hate. We have to stand up against anti-Semitism. We have to stand up against bigotry wherever it is and to whomever it is against. So thank you so much for being part of this important day.
Good morning, everybody. We're here because the Holocaust serves as a stark reminder of what we need to do better, what we need to do right. Here in Montgomery County, here in Maryland, we celebrate our diversity. We love our neighbor, and we cherish everything that comes with it. But unfortunately, the horrors of history tend to repeat themselves, which is why this conversation, this commemoration, is so deeply important. And to hear the stories of those who have been there and heard the stories from their loved ones needs to be a stark reminder and a siren call to all of us that what once happened is possible again. And we need no other reminder than some data that was just released yesterday by the Anti-Defamation League. Across the country, anti-Semitic acts increased 34% year over year. And here in Maryland, as beautifully diverse as we are, as compassionate, as inclusive as we are, anti-Semitic acts increased 17%, which is why we stand here today and say never forget, never again.
Thank you. Well, Andrew and right behind me there, I couldn't tell. I knew you had my back, I just couldn't see you. This is from the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland, a proclamation. Whereas the Holocaust was the state-sponsored systematic persecution and annihilation of European Jews by Nazi Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945. And while Jews were the primary target, 6 million were murdered, other ethnic and religious groups also were victimized. And
whereas, pursuant to a 1980 Act of Congress, the United States Holocaust Memorial Council designates days of remembrance each year to recall and reflect on the horrific crimes committed during the Holocaust and to ensure that the memory and legacy of lives lost will never be forgotten. And
whereas we have a responsibility to those who perished, as well as to those who survived, to educate current and future generations and rededicate ourselves to the history of the Holocaust and its impact on the world. And
whereas on Sunday, May 1st, 2022, the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington will host a virtual community-wide Holocaust Remembrance commemoration, Yom HaShoah, to honor the lives of the 6 million Jews killed and the survivors and their liberators among us, and to call us to mind their courage, forbearance, and strength. And
whereas the memory of victims and lessons of the Holocaust must continue to be memorialized, we must be vigilant in encouraging and supporting future generations to carry the mantle forward, as our ability to learn firsthand from survivors will soon be impossible. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby recognizes Thursday, April 28th, 2022, as Holocaust Remembrance Day, Yom HaShoah, in Montgomery County. And be it further resolved that all residents are urged to rededicate themselves, to not bear silent witness to injustice, and to always remain vigilant to the principles of a just society, presented on this 26th day of April in the year 2022 by Sidney Katz, Evan Glass, Andrew Friedson, and Gabe Albernaz on behalf of the entire council.
thank you very much. We're now going to hear from Albert Garay, and then Edie Tisch and Courtney Tisch. Please.
Hi, my name is Albert Gary. I was born in France, and I lived through the war as a hidden child. I owe my life to quite a few people who stuck their neck out to help me hide and survive. And I want to thank Andrew Friedson, Evan Glass, and Sidney Katz for inviting me.
We are honored you were here.
Thank you so much, County Executive Elrich, Council President Albernaz, and members of the council. My name is Courtney Tisch, and I am honored to accept this year's Yom HaShoah proclamation on behalf of 3GDC and grandchildren of Holocaust survivors in our region. It is equally an honor to be here with my mother, Edie Tisch, to represent second-generation Holocaust survivors, as well as the many other 2Gs who are here, and of course, Albert Garay, to represent our Holocaust survivor population. It is critical that the lessons of the Holocaust and its stories of heroism and humanity are passed down. Books, art, and film can convey these stories, but they can never replace those whose families of survivors will forever bear living witness from generation to generation. Grandchildren of Holocaust survivors are stepping up to carry on this important work, engaging in remembrance, talking to students in schools, and advocating against anti-Semitism and other forms of racism and injustice. I want to thank Montgomery County, I'm a proud resident, for its continued support for all of us at 3GDC, who are working year-round to ensure that never again is a promise kept. Thank you.